What's today? 16th?
17th.
17th. We think it's the 17th. It might not be though. 3 hours to Valle de Bravo. We're going to see the monarch butterflies. Like 10 trillion monarchs actually migrate right through this part of Mexico. And then we're gonna go for a sail on the lake, whatever it's called, in Valle de Bravo. Big road trip, Mexico. First road trip in Mexico, actually. And should be good times. Here's hoping we don't get held up by cartel bandidos. Epa! Viva Mexico! My car has about 12 horsepower, so it's a little difficult up and down the hills, but we'll get there. We will get there. It's actually quite pretty. Getting out of the city was reasonably painless. There's super nice 2-lane, like 6-lane blacktop going out of the city. It took us, less than 20 minutes to clear the city. I mean, technically, I'm sure we're still in the city limits. Mexico City is so monstrous, but you can see we're already in like really nice rolling countryside, and these crazy bicyclists with cars going 60 miles an hour. Yeah, exactly. My son says they're nut jobs, and they are. Going through tunnels and whatnot, just begging to get run over. So there you go. Inicia Estado de Mexico. Viva! Vamos. This reminds me very much of driving out of San Cristobal down to the Pacific coast in Oaxaca. The trip I took a little over 2 years ago. That Mexico's actually, I wouldn't accuse the place of being beautiful, but I mean, you see here, like, there's no garbage on the highway. There's nothing not to like, and traffic's moving, and it's like big, wide U.S. size highway lanes instead of these, you get this narrow bowling alley kind of lanes in the city where, God forbid, if there's an accident or something in the highway going through the city, like, forget about it. Like the emergency crews can't get in, nobody can get beyond. Like, it's just tied up. All right, look at Mexico. Kind of high end. This is you're looking at the train track that goes into the city. I'm pretty sure we can catch a train from Mexico City, right by our apartment, all the way to Yucatan. This is the rail system that they built. I mean, this is probably older and just gets you in and around the city. We're headed to Toluca, so we're still in the city. But I know you can take the train all the way to Yucatan, which is actually the other direction, because they finished this rail system finally. But it's impressive, actually. Mexico is by far the wealthiest part of Latin America. Total GDP, if you care about such numbers, is bigger in Brazil, but Brazil has 100 million more people. So per capita, Mexico is by far the wealthiest per citizen in terms of productivity and all the rest. And you can see why. I mean, everybody here works. They have, when I was a kid, it was largely a joke, like, oh, look at all the lazy Mexican, landscapers and whatnot. But it's not true. I mean, they're a very, very hardworking people and a hardworking culture. And it's not rocket science to build an elevated train track. So cement, steel, a little bit of electricity. So Mexico's very impressive, quite honestly. Like, you don't quite know what you're going to get, because it runs the gamut from being very rural and very run down, and everything's dirt roads and garbage and like buzzards on the side of the highway, all the way to, look at this. Like, look how nice Mexico City is in terms of infrastructure and all the various accoutrements that come with a really productive, wealthy society. And of course, the big reason to be in Mexico City, because it's already wearing me thin a little bit in terms of just traffic. The whole thing is overwhelming. The air quality is terrible. We're going to do our turn in Mexico City probably and find another city to live in for the short term. But regardless, like, the reason you go to Mexico City is it's very, very rich with culture. We will not be able to do in 6 months or 7 months, however long we stay. We will not be able to do everything that Mexico City offers. Not even close in terms of kids parks and natural museums and art museums, and there's such an array of things to do. It's really impressive. It's a little prettier than we thought. Or maybe we're just starved because we've been in the city for a month now. It's a little brutal, actually. No, Mexico City is a monster of a town, but it has its charms, and so we're gonna enjoy as many as we can. But this is why we get out of the city and go to Valle de Bravo. It is quite lovely, actually. It's a pleasant drive, no traffic, as you can tell. It's about 7 toll booths already. I'm not sure why they do that, but they stop you with a toll every 15 minutes. Or less, actually. But you can see, like, Mexico, this part of Mexico has mountains, and it's quite lovely, actually. I mean, it's less ugly than one would suspect. And easy enough to get around. Look at this. Andale. Andale. Epa. Not even close. This is actually a really pleasant drive through a really first world kind of throughway. You see how much effort went into building this highway. We're just driving. They cut this highway through the mountains, but it's really well done. And no traffic. Hip hip hooray.
La primera obligación de todo ser humano es ser feliz. La segunda es hacer feliz a los demás.
Valle de Bravo. Complete with traffic jam. It makes sense that it would be busy this weekend. It's not a holiday in Mexico on Monday, but it is in the US. But regardless, we're definitely gonna rent one of these. Yeehaw. It's very much like Lake Atitlan in Guatemala. It feels the same. The construction, right, the descent down into the lake basin. If you teleported me to Guatemala, you could easily pretend that you were going into Lake Atitlan. We'll see what the differences are. I don't think we're going sailing. I doubt there's going to be enough wind tomorrow, but we'll see. So this place is so similar to Guatemala, you could easily just close your eyes and pretend you're in, now we're in Antigua, Guatemala. But here's my hotel.
Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. But these are nice cobblestone streets. This was done on purpose.
Is on the left.
Guatemala's sort of done because they don't want to disturb a World Heritage Site, which, agree with it, disagree with it. But this is our hotel. Boom.
Ew. Bill, we're gonna park here.
All right, this is the Monarch Sanctuary. And the Monarch Sanctuary is quite organized. It's actually quite nice. The Monarch Sanctuary. Nice parking area. You can grab some food on the way up or down. We're way high up. We drove high up into the mountain. I'll check the elevation here once we get back to the hotel. But the Monarch Sanctuary is where monarch butterflies migrate. It's bloody cold for monarchs too, but apparently they don't mind. And I'm huffing and puffing because the air is kind of thin up here. But this is where hundreds of millions of butterflies migrate right through this area. So we expect to be impressed. We'll see if it's a little bit overcast today. Maybe the sun's gonna burn that off. But I expect to see tens of millions of butterflies. And it really is a miracle of nature. So this is about 30 minutes outside Valle de Bravo. Little area for the kitties, right? Very nice. Very, very nice.
because we don't know where we're going.
They've set up, you can see solar panels up there, so that it looks like almost like an amphitheater. Well, we'll see. That's a restaurant area, I guess. And we will take the trail by ourselves. You can get a guide, but it's kind of interesting. I'm sure we're missing information because they'll probably tell you all about the monarchs and their behavior and whatnot, but that's okay. Mostly I just want to see them and show them to my son. Temascaltepec. So, because it's cloudy today, you can't really see them. Those are all butterflies. Not cocoons of butterflies, but actual butterflies, and they're all sticking together to stay warm. You can see it's very overcast today. But if the sun breaks through, they all take flight because they love to frolic in the sun. So the butterflies are here, but we can't see them. Or you can see them, but they don't look like butterflies. C'est la vie. C'est la vie. Well, there's definitely millions of butterflies, but you can't really tell. Which is too bad and very sad, but it just means we'll have to come back to Valle de Bravo, that's all. Just to prove, there are monarchs here in the forest, but we can't actually see them. For the simple reason that, wait please, we can't actually see them. Because it's so cold, they're not flying around. You wanna see me go flying?
Go. Do it. Claudia. Hold on tight. Hold on tight.
If you think offshore structures like where to bank, how to invest in foreign real estate, and where to set up your foreign trust are difficult or complicated, they're not. That's not the hard part of creating an international lifestyle. The hardest part is the decision to go. That's why I wrote Secrets of the Expat Adventure, to share with you a deeply personal view of what happens when you decide to cast off the chains of a normal life full of predictable outcomes. I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but you quickly discover yourself living your best life, the life you were meant to live, instead of the one you're stuck with. Across 156 pages, I'll share the incredible adventure I've enjoyed because of my decision to leave my old life behind and create an international lifestyle. I lay out for you the consequences of remaining in a life or location where everything is familiar, contrasting that with the almost magical growth and gain that is possible once you decide to take the path of adventure. There's something deeply mysterious about choosing an adventurous life. Once you commit, helpers appear, and events seem to unfold in an almost magically choreographed manner. You find yourself learning, living, and loving your life in a way that you thought you'd lost forever. There is no financial gain that compares with the recovery of the best parts of yourself. Fortunately, the decision to internationalize is also a great way to get wealthy. I give you real examples of how much easier it was for me to find and profit from the real estate and other investment opportunities I came across simply by choosing to play on the very uneven playing field of developing markets. If you're worried about what's happening in your home country and you're on the fence about whether or not you should create your own plan B, Secrets of the Expat Adventure will give you clarity and inspiration to choose your own path of freedom and adventure. I promise you'll never look at your life the same way again once you discover what an international lifestyle can do for you, your family, and your wealth. To get your copy, click the link below this video. So we're in the altiplano, slightly off the lake from Valle de Bravo, and just driving around. There's schools up here. Bravo. This is the Montessori is up here, so we're a little off the lake. You can't really see it because we can't see over the fence, but we just came up to check it out. And there's turkeys here. Just sort of thinking and marinating the idea. I know a lot of thinking that states that, first of all, people who say the wheels are coming off civilization are not wrong. And there's all kinds of opinions and all kinds of places where you can get information, and the wisdom of owning a homestead, piece of land, maybe a ranch where you can reinforce your protection with multiple layers, hoard some food, stash your gold, right? Have a cache of weapons, right? All of this kind of thinking is absolutely correct and accurate. However, there is a different option that I haven't heard anybody talk about, and I think part of the reason that nobody talks about it is because just like homesteading or going to sea, right? If you went to sea and had a vessel you could live on with a water maker with spare parts and some canvas that you could raise to make your home go to a different area of the world, all of that is requires a certain skill set. So homesteading, buying a ranch and being able to feed yourself and your family, etc. All of that makes good sense to me. There's no question that that's all very, very good thinking, and it's much better to take action and have some kind of plan. However, right, the likelihood, first of all, right, for most people, like, are you gonna have the capital? I have a friend who bought a $3 million ranch in Uruguay. Okay, well, good for him, but if you don't have $3 million and you're not gonna take care of 500 head of cattle, and you don't have that level of resource or skill, partly my point to people is that there's an option that is discussed absolutely nowhere, but that makes infinitely more sense to try to work out, which is like where we are here. This is how most of Latin America lives. And in fact, a lot of places in Asia. My wife's from Asia. This looks very much like life in the Philippines. And so if the world came to an end, the people living in and around Valle de Bravo, and here I'm talking about the local Mexican population, sort of mixed Spanish indigenous blood, these people probably wouldn't get the memo. And the reason is very simple. First of all, they already live off the grid. Now, I don't mean literally they're not connected to electricity. They have electricity. But let's just say the world came to an end and the worst possible outcome has come to pass. The banks are shut. There's no air travel, right? All the various ways of traveling are very difficult or dangerous or shut down or et cetera, et cetera. These people wouldn't know the difference. And so my point is, and again, this requires a different skill set, but it requires a skill set that is much more achievable for most people. A reasonably nice place up here is very, very cheap. Now I saw, really high-end ranches and big homes, nice Spanish architecture. I saw a place yesterday, $750,000 US. Okay, but it's 5,600 square feet. Like, that's twice as big as any home I've ever owned. More, actually, 2.5 times. So you don't need a 5,500 square foot home to survive hard times. Say you got a nice place for a couple $100,000. The only skill set really that you need to survive in an area like this is you got to be valuable to the local people. And by valuable, I mean, what skills do you have and what skills did you develop in your time on Earth that would be useful to other people around you? Now, I understand that not everybody has lived their life that way or has considered this, but for example, right, if you took an EMT course and you had a reasonable medical kit for helping in emergencies, that takes a couple weeks out of your life and you would be instantly more valuable than almost anybody else in your neighborhood. And so my point is the tactic, the ability to live in a place where these people already have food and water. These people already have chickens and turkeys and goats and cattle and all kinds of livestock for riding out. This is their normal life. Not only that, but the local people are very, very adept at struggling. They know already what it's like to live a hard scrabble kind of existence. So if you're valuable in a community like this, and you may think that this is far-fetched, but I already lived for on and off for 25 years in Lake Atitlan in Guatemala, where I developed my medical skills. The only non-negotiable skill you must develop is you got to be able to speak a little bit of the local language. So if you can struggle through, 3 to 6 months of learning Spanish, where you can at least converse with people, because the moment you open your mouth, their judgment of you changes. The moment you open your mouth and say something intelligent, or at least comprehensible in their local language, and here I'm not saying dialect, you don't need to learn Quechiquel or Tzutuil or any other Mayan dialect to live in this part of the world. Just speak a little bit of Spanish. It doesn't take that long. It's not that hard. People from North America make a big deal out of like it's the hardest thing in the world to learn a second language, but people do it all the time in other parts of the world. And it's not that hard to learn Spanish. It's far more regular than English. The rules actually are the rules. By and large, there's very few irregular verbs and things like this. It's very easy to pick up a language like Spanish if you just make a reasonable commitment to actually study and learn some words every day and actually talk to people, right? So if you had a skill set that made you valuable to people around you, and the people around you already knew how to survive tough times, and you had food, and you live in a place, this is a lake. We're coming down to the lake. I don't know what the lake is. It's Valle de Bravo. It's the lake in Valle de Bravo. Same thing in Atitlan. Obviously, you got water, you got food, right? Food grows everywhere here. It's already been cultivated by people so that you don't have to do that. And your ability to either barter your skills to make sure, right, if you have any resources at all, obviously like some amount of your resources will probably still be worth something in a grid down kind of end of the world scenario. And so it makes infinite sense to think about, hey, here's how we would ride out tough times, not by spending millions of dollars on a ranch or committing to, you could buy a $3 million ranch and have 500 head of cattle and the apocalypse never comes, or it comes 10 years from now when you finally need it. And it's like, that's fine, but who's going to invest that kind of time and money and live outside of, say, the radius of, comfortable, civilized living that you're used to? Not many people. But the ability to move in to a place like this, instantly offer value to the people around you, instantly integrate into the culture, and be considered not a pinche gringo who is here to sort of break their local customs and make a nuisance of yourself, but to actually be valuable to other people in a way that makes them want to make sure that you're also taken care of. This is not far-fetched. I know because I've done it multiple times, and I feel very comfortable saying that, at least for me and my family, it wouldn't be that hard for us to relocate to a place like Valle de Bravo and actually be useful and be welcome and be valued by the local people. And so maybe this deserves a full video. Maybe it deserves an essay or a series of essays to really flesh out the idea. But my point here is these places wouldn't know if the world collapsed. If the world economy came to a screeching halt, they already have everything in their local area that they need to survive. This is their normal mode of living. This is their normal operating procedure, right? This is their normal modus operandi, where every day they got to go get the eggs from the chickens, and maybe they're going to have a turkey dinner, so they'll slaughter one of the turkeys for a big festival or a feast. But they already have, they got water, they got fruit trees, the food grows everywhere you look, and they're used to that kind of living already. And your ability to just slot yourself into a community like this, where you're not a nuisance, you're actually an asset to the people around you, is not far-fetched at all. There's already a sizable expat community in Valle de Bravo, of course, just like there is throughout all of Mexico. There's a lot of North Americans, but it's not that hard to stick out as one of the, in a good way, as one of the valuable people, not one of the obtuse North Americans who refuses to integrate and assimilate and doesn't really respect the local customs or language or anything else. So more on that coming up.